I'll tell you a little boring little secret about how I got to be who I am. I grew up in a town in western Colorado where if you read Time magazine, you were suspect of being some kind of left-wing intellectual. I mean, this was podunk. And as I grew up there, I became aware of all these extremely strongly expressed cultural values. And most of them were hostile to something. Either Jews were bad, or black people are bad, or people who didn't work were bad, or people who made messy paintings were bad. All of these things were bad. And one day it occurred to me, I will take the position that all these things are good. These things are good. Abstract expressionism, Jews, black people, science, good, 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 good. And everybody said, there's something wrong with this kid. And I didn't understand my own position. I mean, I would look at a Pollock and think, it is messy. It may be horseshit. But we must never admit that. We must defend that. We must defend the genius of Pollock unto death because we don't understand it. And by taking that position, slowly I actually did understand some of these things and make them my own. And I discovered that that was the path to wisdom, a total rejection of my own, of the culture I came up with. Well, now, I don't know how that would work if you were born of Jewish parents in New York who were members of the Communist Party and always took you to wonderful art exhibitions and made sure you got to Carnegie. If you rejected all that, you'd become a jerk like the people around me in that small Colorado town. So this is not a fail-safe prescription. But in my case, by an embracing of everything artificial and antithetical and opposed by and sneered at by the people around me, I made my way to, real depth, real worth, real culture. Things, not that I assimilated these things, but at least I came to live in the light of them. It's a great puzzle. I mean, all of you who have children, and I have two, know that we are alienated intellectuals. I mean, broadly speaking, this is what we are. We are alienated intellectuals, and so we bitch about the government and we critique the monetary system and so forth and so on. Well, then you see your children on the brink of reason, and you say, geez, my alienation has brought me alienation. But I can't let the kids grow up to be marks, to be pawns of the market economy and the propaganda machine, people scratching their heads trying to figure out whether they're Republicans or Democrats. I can't put that on my children. And so then you say, well, okay, then they must join in the alienation. They must be taken out of the culture as we were taken out of the culture. And this is a momentous decision because this act of separating from the culture is unambiguously alienating. And yet it seems to be the only way to find the self. Otherwise, you never contact the self. You contact a commodified cartoon of the self that finds meaning in outboard motors and basketball and all this other crap that's peddled as reality. So our relationship to our culture, I think, is a very uncomfortable one. And of course, psychedelics exacerbate this. And I think, if you have children, that it's one thing to talk alienation, but once they get to the place where they're asking to take LSD or to take psilocybin, then Kafka said a wonderful thing. I think it's in The Penal Colony. He said, "You can choose to be free, but it's the last choice you'll ever make." And that's sort of the dilemma in which we find ourselves.